Hi, and welcome to Spooky Hours. My name's David Saunderson, and today we've got a real paranormal mystery for you today. We've got paranormal historian Damien O'Dell, who's written lots of books over the years exploring ghostly things around here in England, especially around the Bedfordshire area. He's come out with a new book called Chicksand Priory, the most haunted house in England. I think it's called house. I haven't got it in front of me, but essentially the point is he's saying this is a very haunted place. It was a former uh, military base with lots of intelligence stuff. Who knows what went in there? We're going to find out. We're going to talk to Damien today about Chicksand Priory. Hi, Damien. How are you today?
Hi, I'm very well, thanks, David. How are you?
Good. Good. Now, I was saying that in the introduction, you're calling it the England's most haunted house. That's a big
Well,
call. That's a big call.
it's a bit cool, but you notice it is a question mark after it. just to cover myself. The idea is for the reader to read the book, read all the facts, and then decide for themselves. I think they're going to come down in favour that it is, but there you go.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about it? People haven't seen the book. Book's only come out this week.
Yes.
People will be able to get a copy, and I'll have a link below, and there'll be links on Spooky Owls so they can find out more for themselves. But
Yeah.
whet our appetites. Tell us what you've made a big call. Lead
Yeah.
us down the path.
Okay. This book has been some 10 years in the making, so that's involved me checking my facts very carefully. But I have led an investigation personally at the Priory in 2005. And during that investigation, we were allowed full access over the weekend. It was Christmas time, 2005. And we had three sightings of an apparition. When I cross checked with the people who had seen this apparition, all the accounts tallied, which was pretty interesting. I took them apart and questioned them separately. Uh, these sightings were in slightly different places, all on the first floor of the Priory, and they all said they saw the same thing, which was a figure that looked definitely male because it was tall. It was about 6 foot tall. I described it as looking like a monk wearing a black habit. The face was not distinguishable because the cowl was up, and the figure seemed to float rather than walk. It didn't seem to make a sound, although it blocked out any light sources behind it. And in one instance, one of the witnesses saw it come through an open doorway and go through a solid brick wall. So it was a pretty interesting night. But uh, I'd had lots of rumours and information about the Priory being haunted. I should say that this is, to this day, an active military base, which makes it unique, really, because here we have a medieval priory at the centre of a military installation. And fortunately, the priory is open to the public on Sundays, and you can tour the priory and see it, which is all agreed with the military. They very kindly allow public access to the place, which is kind of I think it's a very British thing, really, that something as sensitive as this in such a sensitive place it is available. I was very fortunate. I don't think this is probably going to happen again because of the high level of terrorism risk. I don't think there's going to be another investigation at the Priory, but I wasn't the only one. The Society for Psychical Research investigated it before me, and also the Ghost Club investigated it before me, and all had their own stories to tell, which are in the book. I managed to get the reports of those particular investigations. I added them to my own reports, and apart from the investigations, there's a lot of material from a whole range of witnesses, a whole variety of people. from visitors to cleaners to other staff members. And the thing that we must bear in mind here is why this story had to be told is because the witnesses are so credible. We have to say that they are military men who aren't given to flights of fancy or imagination. These are guys, trained observers, and if they say they've seen or heard something paranormal, I'm going to believe it, because these guys are trained, to give factual accounts of what's happened. So that's why I was very excited about it, and that's why I thought it was a story that just had to be told.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Priory if people are not aware of it? I wasn't particularly aware of the Priory until this book has come out.
Yeah, yeah.
What's its history?
The history is it was originally a 12th century monastery where monks and nuns were present. It's unique because it's the only order of English monks, the Gilbertians, set up by Saint Gilbert. And Chicksands is the last remaining site of a Gilbertian monastery. So it's got a lots of unique aspects to it. Anyway, so the monks were there until the dissolution of the monasteries by Henry VIII. And then it passed, after a short time, into the Osborne family, who then had it for about 400 years. Unfortunately, it became difficult for them to maintain the priory. It's a very expensive building to keep going. And it was sold to the Ministry of Defence, and it was used as an RAF base. And for a brief, well, not so brief perhaps, 1950 to 1995, the American Air Force, they rented from the RAF Chicksands Priory and used it as an intelligence centre of their own, for their own military. So it's got a quite, this story, I don't know how it's really been secret for all this time, because it was, it was just begging to be told.
So, I mean, as I said, I'd not heard of it, and I've been around the traps a bit, looking at these things.
Yeah.
You went there in 2005. Why is it taking you so long to bring the story to our attention?
Well, very good question. It's taken a long time because there's been a lot of setbacks along the way. Let's leave aside the recent things of COVID and etc.
Yeah, of
etc.
course. Yeah.
It took a long time to assemble my facts, and I wanted to make. There's always somebody out there to tell you if you've got something wrong. So an awful lot of time was spent interviewing witnesses, visiting the site, assembling the information, and then cross-checking it with other people to make sure that what I had was accurate. So it's really been a labor of love, if you like, because it was a real challenging book to put together. And not everybody wanted it published, obviously, but I've overcome all these difficulties really through sort of sheer bloody mindedness, I
Oh,
guess.
that's good. I find it interesting because, I mean, it was interesting when you said before, and you were talking about how you'd investigated it, SPR had investigated, the Ghost Club had investigated.
Yeah.
I always wonder when that you have places, what happens to those investigations? You think from an investigation, you want to write a report up. Where does that report go? And so for this one, you're bringing them all together so we can actually see what is going on there.
That's it. That's what I felt people were owed. They were owed, the revelation, if you like, of what had gone before, because these other investigations remained among a select few, if you like. They were never sort of in the public domain. Well, they are now, and long overdue, I think. So that's why I wanted to set the record straight. I wanted to make sure that people did know about all the investigations there. I believe once this book comes out, I think there's going to be more and more information coming, because it's taken me a long time to assemble this. Let's not forget that I had to contact people in America who had been based at Chicksands for their
Mm.
events that they had witnessed. I think there's going to be a lot more, but this is as much as I can, put together at this time. But it's a story that will grow, I think.
Yeah. Now, I've not read the book because it's just come out, and I've not got my hands on it yet, and I look forward to reading it. You do make the claim that it's the most haunted house in England, and I know you do your question marks. That's all. That's all very good, though. What do you? I always think we use these terms and we do it for publicity. Well, how can you measure? How can you measure a haunted house? Why is this house more haunted than some other ones? How do you feel about when you were in there compared to other places? Like, what was your feeling about the place? Never mind what you saw, but why would you consider this place the pinnacle of hauntedness in England?
Well, it has a very special feeling. I mean, from my very first visit as a visitor, before I got involved in this, um, I thought it was a very special place, and it just sort of captured my interest from day one. I subsequently became a member of the Friends of Chicksands. From that, I became an usher to the tour guides, and then in a pretty short order, I progressed to become a tour guide myself, and I just absorbed more and more information about the place, if you like, and added that to you know already known information that had been come across to me from people that work there.
You did your investigation. Did you witness anything or feel anything when you were being a tour guide?
No, bear in mind that as a tour guide, I was just taking people around for maybe about an hour or two on a
Yeah.
Sunday, and it really wasn't a lot of time to absorb anything.
You were too busy working, never mind to
Yeah,
be.
yeah, too busy and trying to remember all the facts to recount to people. Yeah.
So it wasn't there. How did your other, like the people working there, how do they feel about the fact you've written this book? You're saying there some people don't want the story to get
Well,
out.
yes, I think, yeah, I mean, it became clear to me a long time ago that there were. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm just going to say that there were people that should have written this book a long time ago. There were people that said they were going to write about it, and that's all it was. It was just words. They never actually got round to it. Well, some of those people are now going to be pretty miffed. I think that I've done it. I've actually
Yeah.
done it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think one thing that I think you've written a lot of books. You've looked. I've got. I think it's Paranormal Hertfordshire. I've got, which is an
Yes.
excellent book, and
Yeah.
you've got Bedfordshire. I think you did one on Cambridge, and you've done a
Yes.
lot. It seems to be a lot of ghost books about this part of England, but they're never about the one place. You don't seem to have there might be some haunted Tower of London type books there, but to actually be focusing on one area is quite a luxury, really, from your
Yes.
point of view.
It is, and after many investigations and checking into other places, it became clear to me that nothing really compared on any scale that you care to measure. So, I mean, the most haunted house, I say that for a reason. Is it the oldest haunted house? Well, yes, it is actually. Has it got the most accounts of sightings of paranormal events? Yes, it has. Are the witnesses credible? Well, you don't get much more credible than the military. By any measure, Chicksands ticks, I believe, all those boxes for what is the most haunted house.
I think the fact you've even been able to write a whole book about it tells you that there's a lot going on.
Yes,
Because
it does.
a lot of these books, like even in your own books you've written, you'd have been hard pressed to stretch some of those stories out to a whole book for some of the haunted places around where you live.
Exactly. Yes. There are others that could give Chicksands a little bit of a run for its money, but nowhere that comes close to the amount of witnesses that have seen things, the amount of evidence, the amount of reports, and the paranormal investigations themselves have all come up. The press has spent time there in the past. Every single investigation that's ever been carried out has come up with evidence. So, how many other places can you say that about? Very few.
Not really. You were saying there are other places around the area. What else would you think would give it a run for its money? You know,
Well, the nearest, probably the nearest one. Again, strangely enough, all these places seem to be have religious connections,
mm,
don't they? Really, like
well,
Borley
they're the oldest
Rectory.
places. Well, they're the oldest
Yeah,
places, aren't they?
exactly. Borley Rectory, Chicksands Priory, probably in Hertfordshire. I would say Hitchin Priory.
Yeah,
Strangely, another priory, but I have to say there's also been a wealth of material from there.
yeah.
Um, but again, it really doesn't compare the sheer scale and the amount of time that this has been going on. You know, this is these hauntings go back a long, long time, and there's a mass of evidence, as readers will find for
Yeah.
themselves.
Uh, we're talking to Paul Adams, a friend of ours, and he's done obviously a lot of investigations into Borley Rectory. Him and Eddie Brazil work with the late Peter Underwood.
Yes.
Were there other previous historians doing much work on Chicksand Priory?
Well, no. Peter Underwood was a friend of mine, a very good friend, and he encouraged me to write this book. Actually, we were very close. He was all in favour. He was aware of it. He'd picked up little nuggets of information. In fact, I think he gave it a mention in his gazetteers of
Hmm.
British hauntings, that sort of thing. He mentioned it was in there, but he didn't have the full background story, that the entire story from well, early 1900s of
Hmm.
the family seeing things, and from then on, it just grew and grew and grew. Um, but yeah, Paul Adams also is aware of it through a friend of his who was there, and Tony Browell, who also was one of the a previous investigator to myself. And Tony's investigation was very important. It features in the book because of the incredible psychic medium that he had with him, who came up with facts that even the historian was absolutely staggered by. It didn't actually take on board until he did his own research and found that this psychic was right with her facts. How could she possibly have known? There's no way that she could have. So there's lots of stories. It is a tribute to this very gifted psychic, Rose Gladden. It's also a tribute to Dorothy Osborne. Her love affair is a real Romeo and Juliet story. So I think the ladies that pick up this book will be absolutely blown away by the true life struggles that this lady had. She was from a royalist family. During the English Civil
Yeah.
War, and she happened to fall in love with a man who was very much with the parliamentarians, and their families did everything they could to keep them apart. That's a story in itself. There are so many layers to this. There's the story of St. Gilbert, which is quite amazing. There's the story of Dorothy Osborne alone is an amazing story, but there's other Osbornes who have incredible parts to play in all of this. There's the World War II aspect of things. Chicksands played a very important role in World War II. So it's layers upon layers of stories. And that's why I thought, this just had to be out there. People should know about this stuff.
Well, it sounds like it's got everything going for it then. You've got all the bits, and no wonder you could fill a book out with it because it's a very big and in-depth story. Now, I'm just going to ask, what next though? Because this is obviously taken you a very, very long time to put together.
Yeah.
What would be your next investigation or next project?
Well, I've always got projects on the go. I want to write about my hometown, which is Royston in Hertfordshire. Royston has an incredible history of its own, And again, there are many elements to that history. I could also write about the many other investigations that I've spent with my group APIS, which is Anglia Paranormal Investigation Society. We've investigated lots and lots of places. So I think there's a book there about sort of the most interesting places that we've investigated. I nearly said haunted there.
Well, you may one day. You may one day. We
I
don't
may
know.
one
So,
day. Who knows? Yeah, yeah,
oh, well, that's an interesting thought, isn't it? About the whole idea that paranormal investigators come back and haunt the actual places they've been. And would you
yeah.
think that they might leave make it easier for people?
Yes, yeah. Leave little clues. Yeah,
Little clues. Maybe that's what they're doing. So no, it sounds really great, Damien, and I look forward to getting a copy and reading it. I will put the link in here. Before you go though, and I do. I have read your books, and I'm always fascinated to see the faces behind the words that we're writing.
yeah,
I don't live that far from Hertfordshire. I live in London, and
yeah.
a lot of the places you've mentioned I've been to. What would be your say top 5 places that someone who lives in North London going out in that direction should visit for a quality paranormal experience? And what I mean by that means somewhere cool to go for a weekend, get away or even have a bit of a look around.
Yeah, well, Bedfordshire is full of sites of interest, not just Chicksands, and Hertfordshire is full of places. I've already mentioned Hitchin Priory. There are others. I covered a lot in the 3 books that I wrote. Um, if you trawl through those stories, you'll find quite a few places that would are still of interest today. Um, in fact, most of them are still active in some way or another.
How do you think it compares to other counties like Bedfordshire how do you think that say Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, and Cambridgeshire? Because you live very close to Cambridgeshire. I think you probably live more closer to Cambridgeshire than you do the rest of Hertfordshire,
Yeah,
being
I
from
do.
Royston.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you think it compares with the rest of England?
I think this particular neck of the woods. Don't let's forget Borley Rectory. That's in Essex, which is not very far from here as
No.
well. So if you take, let's just take East Anglia. I think it has probably more interesting sites than the whole of the rest of the country put together. But there you go. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
It's for the individual to decide for themselves. But the incredible places that exist in this neck of the woods really is amazing. I know there are. That's why I've called it the most haunted house in England, because I know there's some incredible places in Scotland, in Edinburgh in particular. So I'm not going to compete with those. I'm not going to compete with Wales. Let's just keep it English.
English. So, well, you've thrown down the gauntlet there. You've said that basically your part of England's the most haunted. I'm sure everyone else has got their opinion, and I'm sure they'll leave their comments there if they disagree with you. So, as I said before, we'll put the links down there. Where could people get a copy of the book?
Well, although it's out, it's advanced copies. I am working very closely with my publisher, who assures me that we will get copies in volume in a couple of weeks' time. I've got some advanced copies, but unfortunately, there's a lot of demand on those. So people might get the odd copy. I can post them out to people at the moment, but it's going to be a couple of weeks till I get the books in great numbers.
And will they be available on Amazon?
We haven't approached Amazon yet. We have been in talks, I think, with Waterstones, and there may be some independent bookshops. We'd like to give the independent bookshops first go at this. We'd also um, I'm also going to be doing a talks tour at libraries, because again we want people to come along and see me, hear what I've got to say. So I will be doing a tour of Bedfordshire libraries, and I think the mass market is going to come a little bit later down the line. At the moment, we're concentrating on the smaller stuff.
Okay. Now, you were saying that you were a tour guide at Chicksand Priory. Are you still a guide there?
No, no, I lived a lot closer to
Oh,
Chicksands,
okay.
and I moved out. That's the only reason,
Oh,
really.
okay. No, I was just wondering if people were to go there now. I mean, if I was to go there this Sunday and just do a tour, it wouldn't be as good self doing the tour.
Well, if you went this Sunday, you'd be disappointed because it only runs. I think it's from March till about October.
Oh,
It's
okay.
yeah, they're closed to the public for the moment. But
Oh, okay. That's a pity.
I met a guy recently. He was a tour guide there, and he said the reason I'm a tour guide is because I was there when you were a tour guide, and you inspired me, and that was really heartwarming.
Oh, it was good. It's always good. It's always nice when someone says, "Nice." The reason I'm not a tour guide anymore because I hated you and I never want to work there again. But it worked really well. Well, anyway, Damien, it's been fantastic talking to you. Lovely to, as I say, put the face to the name of the books that I've been reading about the local area, and we wish you luck and look forward to maybe talking to you again about some other adventures in your area.
I'm sure we will.
All right, no worries. You take care.
Thanks, David.